Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm writer coach Tony, and today I'm going to do a book review. So I haven't done a book review in a long time. This book review is from one of my favorite authors. Her name is Maeve Binchy. No, Maeve Binchy. She's an Irish writer. There, Maeve Binchy. That's Maeve Binchy, Binchy. And this book is entitled Victoria Line and Central Line. Victoria Line and Central Line. So by Maeve Binchy. So I've bought and read several of her books, and I'm a big fan of her work. She's from Ireland, and her point of view is her characters are normally women of a certain age, usually women in their 20s and older, no? So women who are in the start of their lives, no, who are going to get married. So this book, Victoria Line and Central Line, this book is a collection of short stories. So I didn't know that Maeve wrote short stories, and this book contains several. I didn't count how many they are, but they should be around more than 20, no? And they're separated into two. There's the Victoria Line and the Central Line. So if you've been to London, you know that there's a Victoria Line. That's where the stations are, and that line is known as Victoria Line. And it's also the Central Line. So I'm familiar with the Central Line because the Central Line is usually where the tourists are, no? That's where the Oxford Circus is, Bond Street, so Notting Hill, Holland Park, Shepherd's Bush. So normally for tourists like me, we usually stay near the Oxford Circus, Bond Street area, because that's where most of the theaters are, where most of the touristy places are, no? So that's why I'm familiar with the place. But if you know London, the Victoria Line and the Central Line cross. That's why there's an Oxford Circus in both lines, no? Because they intersect in Oxford Circus. And for many tourists, Oxford Circus is where you usually go down to go out. So anyway, it's a great book of short stories. I didn't know that Maeve Binchy can write really good short stories. I think short stories are more difficult to write because you have a certain frame to follow, and you cannot exceed a certain number of words. So in other words, you have to complete the story in a few short pages, no? So you only have a few short pages to give the background, the characters, and what they're going through, and then of course to push forward whatever message you want to say. So in this book by Maeve Binchy, she has short stories of different women undergoing different dilemmas, problems, usually typical female problems. And there are stories here about abortion, about because in Ireland apparently you can't have abortion, no? So you have to go to England to have a legal abortion. So she talks about it in the book. It's a very brave short story. I love it. It also talks about friendship and the types of friends we have, and it shows that because it's people, women who live in the city. So in the city, you're not sure if your friend is really a friend, no? Or it's just an acquaintance or a person you usually meet. So in many of her stories, she examines those relationships between these women, if they're really friends, or tests their friendship, no? The funny thing is, some of the stories here, you think the city is very informal, but you sometimes forget that families also live within the city. So the person you meet and you are cozy with may be related to another person you're working with. So in some of her short stories here, some of them are really funny in the end, because it catches the heroine flat-footed, no, when she found out that the woman she was talking to was the sister of her boss. You know, so that's one of the. There are several good stories here, and I suggest you read all of them. But they're usually focused on the female point of view, which is no problem with me, because I think that's the strength of Maeve. What's good about it is it offers me another perspective, no? Because she comes from Europe. What I find a bit disturbing, though, not really disturbing, but is how she writes about the minorities, no? Like the Filipinos, because there are Filipinos in this book, and usually the Filipinos who live in England, in London, are normally the ones who immigrate, no? The ones who have to find work. I think anyway, maybe through her characters, she's saying that because the characters who live in London are used to a certain lifestyle, so they cannot understand why people from the third world, like the Philippines, go to London to work as cleaners, no, to get the most menial job, and then are happy about it. So I know maybe we'll not have the chance anymore because she has passed away, but I think it would have been better if she also get to know these women more, no? That because she has two stories. I remember about one Jamaican woman, so the women from the West Indies, and a Filipina cleaner of the Philippines. So I'm from the Philippines, and unfortunately, because of the economy here, many Filipinos usually leave our country to work in domestic jobs abroad, which are actually below their qualifications. So usually they're teachers, they're professionals here in our country, but when they go abroad, since their qualifications are not recognized, they work in menial jobs, no? So what surprises me is the characters in the story have not really fully appreciated why these women have to make these sacrifices, or why these women act in a certain way. That they're more, because for us Filipinos who go abroad, it's a big sacrifice, and we're grateful for the opportunity to be working there and to help our families here in the Philippines. So it's a big sacrifice on their part. Oh yeah, if only Maeve had more time to interact with these women, she would be able to appreciate more why they're doing those sacrifices. But anyway, it's her perspective, her point of view. I don't really know when she reached her peak, no, but it could be in the late 80s, 90s, where there wasn't more understanding about globalization, about women who go to other countries to work, no? Especially those coming from the poorer countries like the Philippines and the West Indies. So that's only one of the parts which interest me, but those are only two stories anyway. There's around 20 stories here. The other stories are also that good. They're very British. It's about manners and how families take care of each other, about quirkiness of families. So if that's the book that you want, I suggest you read this. And if you're a fan of short stories like me, now because of Maeve Binchy, I'm not a fan of short stories. So this book is for you, no? It's Maeve Binchy, Victoria Line and Central Line. If you can find a copy, go and buy it. So anyway, thank you for the time. Please subscribe to my channel, Writer Coach Tony, and please follow me on my Facebook, my Twitter, and my Instagram. Okay, bye everyone.